Hello and welcome to Lyla's Lullabies, where we spend time exploring with Lyla, a traveler who wanders the world at her own pace while sharing her most enriching and restorative moments with you. In tonight's story, we'll follow Lyla as she explores the fascinating city of Dubai. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to remember. Just settle in, get comfortable, and let yourself go. We're so glad you're here. Whenever you're ready, let's begin. Lyla woke to sunlight streaming through the hotel curtains, the morning already bright despite the early hour. She'd arrived in Dubai late the previous night, too tired to do more than shower and fall into bed. But now, refreshed, she was ready to discover the city. December in Dubai meant pleasant temperatures, warm, but not the brutal heat of summer, and as she opened the curtains to look out over the sprawling cityscape, she could see clear blue sky stretching endlessly. Her friend Marc had texted earlier saying he'd meet her in the lobby at 9. Their friendship went back to childhood, their families having been friends as long as she could remember. They'd spent some summer vacations together as kids, then, as awkward teenagers navigating those strange formative years, and had stayed loosely connected as adults, even as their lives took them to different continents. Now he was here in Dubai, hoping to expand his tech company into Asian markets. When Lyla had mentioned she'd be passing through, he'd immediately insisted on showing her around. She found him waiting exactly where he said he'd be, sitting in the lobby with a coffee and looking at his phone. He'd changed since she'd last seen him, a bit older, more settled in himself, though his smile when he spotted her was exactly the same as she remembered. "Lyla, it's awesome to see you. Welcome to Dubai," they embraced. "How's the hotel?" "Beautiful," she said, slightly overwhelming. "Everything here seems designed to impress." "That's accurate," Marc said, laughing. "Come on, let's get out of here. I thought we'd start with the old parts of Dubai, the historical neighborhoods. Show you the timeline before we hit the modern stuff." They took an Uber to the Fahidi historical neighborhood, and the contrast with the glass and steel towers they'd left behind was immediate. This was old Dubai, preserved from the days before oil money transformed everything. Narrow lanes lined with traditional wind tower houses built from coral and gypsum, their distinctive four-sided wind towers rising above the rooflines. The neighborhood was quiet in the morning, most of the galleries and cafes just opening, and they wandered through the lanes without any particular destination. The wind towers fascinated Lyla, an ingenious pre-electric cooling system that caught breezes and directed them down into the houses below. "This is what Dubai was," Marc explained as they walked, "a small fishing and trading port. Hard to imagine when you see it now, but this neighborhood gives you a glimpse." They visited the Dubai Museum, housed in the Al Fahidi Fort, the oldest existing building in Dubai. Inside, dioramas and exhibits showed life before the oil boom, pearl diving, traditional souks, Bedouin life in the desert. There was something poignant about it, this carefully preserved reminder of a past that seemed impossibly distant from the hyper-modern city outside. "Do you ever find it strange," Lyla asked as they left the museum, "living in a place that's changed so much so quickly?" "All the time," Marc admitted. "Dubai feels like it's inventing itself as it goes. Sometimes I love that energy, the sense that anything's possible. Other times it feels, I don't know, untethered, like there's no deep roots, just constant transformation." They walked toward the Dubai Creek, the natural inlet that had been Dubai's original lifeline to the sea. The creek was still busy with wooden dhows, traditional boats that now carried goods and tourists rather than pearls and spices. The morning light caught on the water, and across the creek they could see the buildings of Deira rising. "We should take an Abra ride," Marc suggested, pointing to the small wooden water taxis that ferried people across the creek. "It seems touristy, but it's also how people actually get around, and it's a bargain at 1 dirham." They joined the queue and climbed aboard an Abra when it pulled up, finding seats on the wooden benches that lined the sides. The boat filled up quickly, mostly South Asian workers heading to jobs in Deira, a few tourists with cameras, an elderly Emirati man in traditional dress reading something on his phone. The ride across took only a few minutes, but Lyla loved it. The gentle rocking of the boat, the wind off the water, the view of both sides of the creek, the sense of traveling in a way that had been done here for centuries, even as everything around it transformed. It felt authentic in a city where authenticity sometimes seemed hard to find. On the Deira side, they disembarked and walked toward the Gold Souk, one of Dubai's famous traditional markets. The souk was housed in a covered walkway, shop after shop, displaying gold jewelry and elaborate window displays that seemed to compete for who could show the most gold at once. The sheer quantity of gold was overwhelming. Necklaces, bracelets, earrings, everything from delicate modern pieces to elaborate traditional designs. Shopkeepers called out greetings as they passed, inviting them to look, to touch, to consider. "They say there's over 10 tons of gold in this souk at any given time," Marc said. "I have no idea if that's true, but I believe it." They browsed without any intention of buying, just absorbing the spectacle of it. In one shop, a jeweler was working at a small bench, crafting something intricate with tools that looked unchanged for generations. The contrast with the modern city just blocks away felt deliberate, a conscious preservation of tradition, even as everything else raced toward the future. From the gold souk they wandered through the adjacent spice souk, where the air was thick with the scent of cardamom, saffron, cinnamon, and dozens of spices Lyla couldn't identify. Burlap sacks overflowed with vibrant powders in every shade: deep red, golden yellow, dark brown, bright orange. Dried lemons, nuts, dried roses for tea, everything arranged in appealing displays. Marc bought some saffron from a vendor he seemed to know, and they chatted briefly in Arabic, Marc's command of the language clearly functional if not fluent. The vendor insisted on giving Lyla a small packet of cardamom as a gift, waving away her attempts to pay. By now the morning was advancing, and Marc suggested lunch. They took an Uber to a restaurant he knew in Jumeirah, a place that served traditional Emirati and broader Middle Eastern food. Dubai is so international that actually Emirati food can be hard to find, Marc explained as they drove. But this place is the real deal. The restaurant was elegant but not ostentatious, with low seating and decorative cushions, traditional music playing softly. They ordered a spread, hummus and moutabel, lamb mashbouz, grilled hammerfish, fresh bread, dates stuffed with nuts. The food arrived beautifully presented, and they ate slowly, sharing dishes, savoring the flavors. The makbouz was rich and fragrant with spices, cardamom, cinnamon, dried lime, the lamb tender and falling off the bone. The hammer was delicate and perfectly grilled, the fish flaky and sweet, They scooped up hummus with warm bread, the tahini and lemon perfectly balanced. "This is excellent," Lyla said, helping herself to more of the mahbouz. "I was worried everything would be very international food, mall restaurants, that sort of thing." "There's plenty of that too," Marc admitted. "But if you know where to look, you can find the traditional stuff. It just takes some effort." After lunch, Marc suggested they head to the Burj Khalifa, the iconic tower that dominated Dubai's skyline, the tallest building in the world. They'd booked tickets for the observation deck in advance, Marc explained, otherwise the wait could be hours. The Uber dropped them at Dubai Mall, the massive shopping complex at the base of the Burj Khalifa. The mall was enormous, overwhelming in its scale. Hundreds of shops, an ice rink, the aquarium, countless restaurants. They navigated through it toward the Burj Khalifa entrance, passing luxury boutiques and crowds of shoppers from every corner of the world. The elevator to the observation deck was an experience in itself, sleek and fast, climbing at speeds that made Lyla's ears pop. The walls displayed a light show as they ascended, numbers ticking off the floors, and in less than a minute they traveled over 100 stories. The observation deck at level 124 was busy but not packed, and they made their way to the windows. The view was extraordinary. Dubai spread out below like an architectural model, the desert beyond, the Persian Gulf glittering in the afternoon sun. From this height, the city's geometry became clear. The radiating boulevards, the clusters of skyscrapers, the planned developments spreading into what had been empty desert. "On clear days you can see all the way to Iran," Marc said, pointing north. "And that way is Saudi Arabia. Dubai is so small really, you can drive across it in an hour." They walked around the deck, looking at the city from different angles. The Palm Jumeirah was visible. The artificial archipelago shaped like a palm tree, one of Dubai's most ambitious projects. Construction cranes dotted the skyline, testament to the city's constant growth. "Do you think you'll stay here long term?" Lyla asked, watching a plane take off from Dubai International in the distance. Marc considered the question. "I don't know. It's been good for my career, the opportunities here are incredible. But I'm not sure it's home, you know. It's a city of transients, really. Everyone's here for work, for the experience, for the money. Very few people are from here originally." Back at ground level, they visited the Dubai Mall aquarium, walking through the tunnel that passed through the massive tank. Sharks and rays glided overhead, schools of colorful fish swam past, and a giant grouper, easily as big as a person, watched them with an ancient, indifferent gaze. The blue light and the gentle movement of the water created a calming atmosphere despite the crowds. "I come here sometimes when I need to think," Marc admitted. "There's something peaceful about it. Reminds me that there's a whole world that doesn't care about tech funding or expansion plans." They emerged from the aquarium into the mall, and Marc suggested they head to Jumeirah for a walk along the beach before sunset. Another Uber took them to the Jumeirah area, and they walked along the beach, the sand white and fine, the Persian Gulf calm and turquoise. The famous Burj Al Arab was visible in the distance, the sail-shaped hotel that had become one of Dubai's iconic images. People were out enjoying the pleasant December afternoon, families with children building sandcastles, couples walking hand in hand, a few brave souls swimming despite the water being cooler this time of year. They walked slowly, shoes off, letting the water occasionally wash over their feet. The sun was beginning its descent, and the light was becoming softer, more golden. Lyla could see why people came to Dubai. There was something appealing about the perfection of it, the way everything seemed carefully designed for maximum pleasure and convenience. "The beaches are probably my favorite part," Marc said. "When everything else gets too much, the traffic, the crowds, the relentless commercialism, you can come to the beach and it's just water and sand and sky, same as anywhere else." As the sun dropped lower, Marc suggested they head to Dubai Marina for the sunset. The marina was another of Dubai's modern developments, a man-made canal lined with skyscrapers, restaurants, and a long promenade perfect for evening walks. The Uber dropped them at the Marina Walk, and they joined the crowd strolling along the waterfront. The marina was beautiful in the golden light, the towers reflecting in the calm water, yachts moored along the sides, the whole scene looking like something from a glossy magazine. They found a quiet spot near the water and watched as the sun sank toward the horizon. The sky transformed through shades of orange and pink, the buildings catching the light and seeming to glow from within. As the sun disappeared, the towers began to light up, their facades becoming canvases for LED displays and architectural lighting. "This is Dubai's real magic hour," Marc said, "when it transitions from day to night, when the desert heat finally breaks, when the city lights up." They walked along the marina as the night settled in, the restaurants filling up, music drifting from various venues, the smell of grilling meat and spices in the air. Marc had made reservations at a restaurant with views of the marina, and they were seated at a table right by the water. Dinner was a fusion of Middle Eastern and international cuisine. They started with meze, moved to grilled meats and seafood, everything fresh and flavorful. The restaurant had that international vibe that characterized so much of Dubai. The menu in 3 languages, the staff from a dozen different countries, the clientele equally diverse. After dinner, Marc suggested they head back to the Burj Khalifa area for the fountain show. They took the metro, Dubai's sleek driverless trains, and emerged at Dubai Mall station just as the sun had fully set. The Dubai fountain was in the artificial lake in front of the Burj Khalifa, and a crowd had already gathered along the waterfront for the evening shows. They found a spot with a good view, and at precisely the appointed time, the music started and the fountains came to life. Water shot hundreds of feet into the air, choreographed to the music, the whole display illuminated by colored lights. It was spectacular, undeniably impressive, the kind of thing that could only exist in a place with Dubai's resources and ambition. The music shifted from classical to Arabic to contemporary, and the fountains responded, dancing and swaying and shooting upward in perfect synchronization. The crowd watched in appreciative silence, broken occasionally by children's exclamations or the click of camera shutters. When the show ended, everyone applauded, and then the crowd began to disperse, people heading into the mall or toward restaurants or back to their hotels. Marc and Lyla walked slowly around the lake, the Burj Khalifa towering above them, lit up against the night sky. The air had cooled to perfect comfort, and the city felt alive with possibility, with energy, with the particular excitement of a place still inventing itself. "What do you think?" Marc asked. "Of Dubai, I mean." "It's fascinating," Lyla said honestly. Completely unlike anywhere else. Sometimes it feels a bit artificial, a bit too perfect. But there's also something admirable about the ambition of it. The way it's created something from almost nothing, like an oasis in the desert. That's exactly it. It's a city of contradictions, ancient traditions and cutting-edge modern stuff. Incredible wealth alongside the workers who built it all. It's both international and very specifically Emirati. I'm still figuring it out. They walked back toward the metro station, and Marc rode with her back to her hotel, making sure she knew how to get around if she needed anything. At the hotel entrance, they said goodbye with a hug. "Thanks for showing me your Dubai," Lyla said, "both the old and the new. Thanks for visiting. It's nice to share the city with someone from home, someone who remembers me before all this. Reminds me that there's continuity in life, even when everything else keeps changing." Lyla watched him head back toward the metro, his figure disappearing into the evening crowds, and then turned toward the hotel. The lobby was busy with well-dressed guests coming and going, the air conditioning cool after the outdoor warmth, everything polished and perfect. In her room, she opened the curtains to look out at the city skyline, the towers lit up against the dark sky, the Burj Khalifa visible in the distance still glowing. She could see the red lights of construction cranes, the sweep of headlights on highways, the endless evidence of a city in motion. She thought about the day, the wind towers of old Dubai and the modern towers of glass and steel, the Abra ride across the creek and the high-speed elevator to the observation deck, the gold souk and the shopping mall, the traditional makbous and the fusion cuisine. Dubai was a city of contrasts, of old and new existing side by side, sometimes uneasily, always dramatically. But she also thought about Marc, about how friendship carried across time and distance, how you could know someone as a child and reconnect with them as adults, and find both the familiar and the changed. He was navigating this city the way everyone did, trying to find authentic experiences in a place built for spectacle, seeking connection in a city of transience, balancing ambition with the need for roots. The December night was clear and warm, the city humming with energy even at this late hour. Somewhere below, fountains were dancing to music, and shopping malls were still open, and restaurants were serving customers from 100 different countries. Dubai never quite slept, never quite stopped moving forward, always reaching for the next impressive thing, the next achievement, the next transformation. Lyla stood at the window for a while, watching the city's lights twinkle and shift, thinking about cities that remembered their past while rushing toward their future, about friends who grounded you even when their own ground kept shifting, about the strange and wonderful experience of seeing a place through someone else's eyes and understanding both the place and the person a little better for it.